Oh boy, you guys. I've been looking forward to this movie. I mean, it's got Kevin Costner directing, co-writing, and acting. This is a project that he's been wanting to make for a long time, and it's a Western. It's something that has always captivated him. He had to pay out of his own pocket to get this movie made. Oh, I'm there. I'm sold. Me seeing in that theater, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great. I can't wait. Huh? What? It's over. It, oh, oh no! It's it's over. Aw, I I so wanted more. Oh, obviously, I truly wanted more.
You be careful. Someone's gonna take that gun and wrap you with it.
What? We talked enough.
Horizon American Saga Chapter 1. It's directed by Kevin Costner with a screenplay by John Baird and Kevin Costner, and a story by John Baird, Kevin Costner, and Mark Kasdan. The film has a star-studded cast including Kevin Costner, Sienna Miller, Sam Worthington, Will Patton, Jamie Campbell, Bauer, and Giovanni Ribisi. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, chronicles a multifaceted 15-year span of pre- and post-Civil War expansion and settlement of the American West. Sure, we'll go with that one. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was looking forward to this film due to Costner's involvement. I mean, Kevin Costner himself, multi-talented actor and director. Regardless of how you feel about his films, the man is a talented filmmaker all around. He knows what he wants to make and how he wants to shoot it. And so, for this to be a passion project that he's been wanting to make for decades, and the fact that Warner Brothers was willing to help out distribution, not spending money on the production. No. He had to pay out of his own pocket just to make this movie. So, I mean, you are somebody who is willing to pay your own money on the production to make the film that you've always wanted to make. I mean, you gotta take it, man. I mean, that's how it sometimes gotta be. I mean, Warner Brothers can't help you. I mean, they can hardly help themselves. I mean, 2 years ago, they can hardly have released more than 2 movies. I'm being serious with that. Are you kidding me? In the end, I can say for certain that this has to be one of the most boring and messy films I have seen this year. Hands down. If for nothing else, just boring. I think that's the best word I could describe this movie. In general, it's just boring. But before giving my problems and just piling them out, here are now some of the positives that I found with the film. The direction is stellar. Director Kevin Costner truly brings the Old West to life due to his attention to detail of the landscaping or the scenery as a whole, as well as with the ensemble cast. It does show his love and affinity for westerns. This man truly, really appreciates the genre as a whole, really shows his passion for it, and so for that, I can definitely tell with how he directs this film. It does feel like he is going for an old school type of feeling of western films that just aren't usually hardly made these days. Most of the time we see a lot of like revisionist westerns, more grittier, like action packed westerns than more of a slow and subtle approach to a western. And I can really see that in Kevin Costner, and that he does try to do that. He tries to convey that, and I think he succeeds in that regard. The cinematography is beautiful. Cinematographer J. Michael Moreau captures the vast opening of the west and the scenery of the rocky terrains. It all looks stunning. It all looks beautiful. I am not going to deny that. How it captures the like Midwest or just the Western terrains of what we commonly know about Westerns. Rocky terrains, plateaus, and muddy areas, winters. Like, we know and we've seen these images. And I think it's still captured well in this film, that I did appreciate seeing the beauty in the landscaping in which, the cinematography shines at. The music is terrific. Composer John Debney encompasses the Western genre as a whole with sprawling and epic music that truly fits perfectly within the genre. It's just an amazing score all around. If there's one thing I did appreciate, I did like the music that is played throughout this movie. Sure, it could a lot of people could say that it's generic, but at the very least, it's something that's worth merit, and you can tell that there was a lot of work that was put into the scoring of this movie and trying to fit the period in which the film takes place in. And the production is incredible. The West is on full display throughout, and it just never lets up. From the costumes, props, sets, and locations, it's all amazing. Clearly, Costner spent his money well on making sure that every set and location, like I said, props and costumes, they all look right. They all feel accurate to the period in which the film is supposed to take place in. And for that, I am grateful for seeing the amount of detail that goes into making sure that it all looks proper and it all fits right. Aside from that, this film, to me, not to you, not to anyone else, but to me, is just plain fucking boring. I really could not get into this film. I tried as hard as I could while watching it, and I just could not get myself invested. So now here are my negatives with the film. The performances, they're all bland. I'm sorry. I think pretty much everyone in this movie is bland, except for Jamie Campbell Bower, who gives the best performance in this entire movie than everyone else, because he at the very least acts differently than everyone else, and he actually tries his best to be as intimidating as villainous as he can be. But otherwise, every other performance just doesn't stand out at all. And it just all comes off as just being boring. Even Costner himself looks uninterested in the film. And this man has been wanting to make this movie. I can feel that in the passion of the direction. Everything else we'll get to in a bit. But starring, he just looks completely bored. Maybe that's the character, but let me tell you, I feel like how his character is supposed to be portrayed is done better in other films, in not just westerns, but other types of genres of filmmaking. The story is non-existent. For a western, there's hardly a plot that the film tries to present itself. Like, what is the plot of this movie? Seriously, what is the actual main plot? Because I'm telling you, even the plot synopsis for IMDb doesn't know 100% what the true plot is. Like, what is the actual true crux of this film? It probably has to do with something about this place called Horizon that everyone's trying to get to, but otherwise, that happens at the beginning of the movie. You could make this film out to be like, this is the main plot, this is the main plot. I don't know. Because otherwise, I'm going to tell you this right here, right now, the subplots. Oh boy, they're everywhere. The film is just made up of a bunch of subplots that all feel generic. Not one subplot in this movie, or I guess plot element, is interesting at all. And it feels like they don't connect at all to each other. Like, how are they supposed to connect? If this is supposed to be chapter 1 in 4 of these movies, they are hardly connecting. There is no sort of weaving into it, the subplots into like the narrative. There's nothing here at all. They just all feel like random western stories that leads to nowhere. Seriously, where does this lead to? To me, it leads to nowhere, but maybe that's just me. I don't know where it leads to at all. The pacing and runtime, it's bloated. Every scene takes its sweet time taking a stroll with its plot. And I use bunny ears and say plot because I still don't know what the plot is of this movie. With a runtime of 3 hours and 1 minute, this film was not worth that runtime. Listen, I remember when this film came out, and Michael Rooker, God bless him, I love the man. I think he can always be a fun actor. I mean, if I can, I'll show you a screenshot of me taking a picture with him. I love this guy. I love this man. He criticized people who were saying that this movie is long and that he thinks that younger people or just people in general need to get over that and enjoy and appreciate longer movies. And listen, man, I respect it. I get it. You know, some people can be picky. I was really kind of nervous when walking into Killers of the Flower Moon last year. But the difference is, though, between that movie and this movie is that movie kept me engaged. That kept me interested. And for that, it did earn its runtime. This movie didn't keep my interest, didn't keep me engaged, and for that, it didn't earn it. So the difference, I would say, is one is more interesting, the other one is just plain out boring and just dull. The writing is generic. Writers John Baird and Kevin Costner just picked the most stock and bland writing that makes the film uninteresting all around. It just all feels like a waste of time, and sometimes it can really come off as being unintentionally hilarious. I think that's kind of funny to me. But if you've heard, listened, or read, watched, whatever you want to call it, for Western, you have probably heard it a dozen times, and this movie is no different. It feels like every line you've heard from a Western ever or Western influenced film in this movie, and there's nothing about it that stands out, not one bit. The concept, if you ask me, should have been a miniseries. I do not understand why this is a movie at all. when the film and the supposed chapters, because again, there's supposed to be like 3 more after this, would be better suited as a miniseries on Max, because I mean, that is a Warner Brothers property, or Peacock, or Paramount Plus. I would say more on Paramount Plus because they have a lot of Westerns on there. But overall, this wasn't meant for a theatrical release. I'm being as serious as I can be. I don't even think I can see this as a streaming movie. I can see this more as a miniseries. That's just purely how I see it. The only reason why it's got a theatrical release is, well, Warner Bros. Got nothing to their slates, and Kevin Costner's always wanted to make this. And so, damn, we'll do it. We'll make it into a movie instead. Ultimately, I found this movie to be purely boring at the end of the day. I just think that there's better Westerns out there than this, if you ask me. Like, even old Westerns like Shane or High Noon or shit, even like The Searchers are more captivating than this film. And this movie is supposed to be a love letter to those films. But I found those movies more interesting than this film. I'm going to give Horizon American Saga Chapter 1 a 4 out of 10. I think it's not good. It's only saved by its technical aspects, but otherwise, you guys, yeah, not interesting at all. The only way I would describe this movie is like a combination of Yellowstone meets Little House on the Prairie. And it makes sense because most of the demographic that I was in the theater with were mostly people in like their 60s, 70s, or maybe even 80s. I was probably the youngest person, and then the second youngest people in that theater were like a couple in like their 30s, and pretty much everyone in the theater was white. So I don't know what that says about me, but I'm telling you, that's the demographic that I went with. So now, June movies, they're done, they're over with. Now we can get into the July films, starting with the Beverly Hills Cop films, leading to When I Saw Beverly Hills Cop XOF. So yes, look forward to those reviews and other movie TV show reviews coming soon.